The class was told to build a ranged weapon. He made a catapult and shot the instructor's drone. The classroom overlooked the stars. Through the massive windows of Galactic Academy Station Meridian, 1,000 distant suns glittered against the black void of space. Inside, 30 students from a dozen different species sat at their workstations, waiting for their instructor to speak. Tai-Min leaned back in his chair, his human fingers drumming against the desk. He had been at the academy for 6 months now, and he still felt out of place. The other species had been traveling through space for thousands of years. Humans had only joined the Galactic Coalition 5 years ago. Everyone else seemed to know exactly what they were doing. Tai-Min was still figuring things out. The instructor entered the room on 4 legs. Velcris was a Netherian, an insectoid species with 4 arms, compound eyes that could see in multiple directions at once, and a chitinous shell that gleamed under the artificial lights. The instructor's voice buzzed and clicked, translated instantly by the devices everyone wore. "Attention students," Velcris announced. "Today I will describe your semester project. This assignment will count for 40% of your final grade." The room fell silent. Even the Thexian student, Corval, who usually muttered complaints about everything, stopped talking. His reptilian face turned toward the instructor. Velcris touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared above the instructor's desk. It showed various weapons firing at targets. Energy beams, metal projectiles, plasma bolts, all striking distant objects with precision. "You will design and build a functional ranged weapon," Velcris said. "Your weapon must be capable of hitting a moving target at a distance of 50 meters. You may use any materials available in our fabrication laboratory. You have 6 weeks. At the end of this period, you will demonstrate your weapon on the testing range." Murmurs filled the classroom. Students immediately began discussing ideas with their neighbors. Tai-Min heard phrases like particle acceleration and magnetic coils and energy conversion ratios. Beside him, Jiwan leaned over. She was another human student and one of the few people Tai-Min considered a friend at the academy. "What are you thinking?" she asked quietly. "I'm not sure yet," Tai-Min said. "Everyone's going to build the same things. Energy weapons, railguns, maybe some plasma rifles." "That's what the assignment calls for," Jiwan pointed out. "Maybe," Tai-Min said. He had a strange look in his eyes, the kind of expression he got when an idea was forming in his mind. A small drone floated through the classroom. It was one of Velcris's evaluation drones, equipped with cameras and sensors to monitor student progress. The drone hovered near each student, recording their initial reactions and discussions. When it reached Tai-Min, it stopped and hung in the air for a moment, its lens focusing on his face. Tai-Min stared back at the drone. Then he smiled. Over the next few days, students began working on their projects. The fabrication laboratory was a large space filled with machines that could create almost anything. 3-dimensional printers could construct complex parts from raw materials. Energy forges could shape metal with precision. Computer terminals connected to vast databases of technical information. Corval was already bragging about his design. The Thexian student had sketched plans for a plasma rifle that could fire multiple shots in quick succession. He showed his designs to anyone who would look. "Humans are too new to this," he said loudly one day, making sure Tai-Min could hear. "You don't have the technical knowledge for advanced weapons." Tai-Min ignored him. He was sitting at a terminal, scrolling through the Academy's database. But he wasn't looking at weapon designs or energy systems. Instead, he was reading about Earth's history. Medieval siege weapons, ancient warfare, catapults and trebuchets. Jiwan found him there after class. "What are you doing?" she asked, looking at his screen. "That's stuff from 1,000 years ago." "Exactly," Tai-Min said. "I don't understand." Tai-Min turned to face her. "Everyone's thinking the same way. They're all going to build high-tech weapons because that's what they know. Energy weapons, magnetic accelerators, plasma systems. All of those require power sources, cooling systems, complex electronics. So what if we went in the opposite direction?" Tai-Min's eyes lit up. What if we built something simple? Something that doesn't need power or electronics at all? Jiwon stared at him. You want to build a primitive weapon? For an advanced weapons class? At a galactic academy? A catapult, Taemin said. A torsion catapult, to be specific. It uses twisted rope for power. You pull back the arm, store energy in the twisted fibers, then release. The arm swings forward and throws the projectile. No batteries, no circuits, no computers. That's insane, Jiwon said. But she was smiling. They'll laugh at you. Probably, Taemin agreed. But the assignment is to hit a moving target at 50 meters. It doesn't say we have to use advanced technology, it just says we need a functional ranged weapon. You're serious about this? Completely. Jiwon thought about it for a moment. Then she pulled up a chair. Okay, I'm in. But if we fail, I'm blaming you. Deal, Taemin said. They started working that night. Taemin sketched designs based on historical earth weapons. He calculated the tension needed in the ropes, the length of the throwing arm, the weight of the counterbalance. Jiwon helped with the physics, using formulas that had been old when humans first went to space. The next day in the fabrication lab, Taemin started gathering materials. He requisitioned wood, rope, and metal brackets. Other students watched him with confusion. A female student named Hyrim stopped by his workstation. She was in the astrophysics program, but she often visited the engineering lab. What are you building? She asked, looking at the pieces of wood Taemin was measuring. A catapult, Taemin said simply. Hyrim blinked. A what? An ancient Earth siege weapon. It throws projectiles using mechanical advantage and stored energy in twisted rope. I know what a catapult is, Hyrim said. I mean, why are you building one? Because everyone else is building the same thing. Energy weapons, railguns. I wanted to try something different. Hyrim looked at his sketches. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, the math is interesting. Parabolic trajectories, energy transfer, tension calculations. Can I help? Taemin grinned. Absolutely. Word spread quickly through the class. The human was building a primitive weapon. Students came by to look at Taemin's project, and most of them laughed. Korval was the loudest. A wooden toy, the Thexian sneered. This is a weapons engineering class, not a history lesson. You're going to fail, human. Maybe, Taemin said calmly. But at least I'll fail doing something interesting. Velcris's evaluation drone was always nearby now. It hovered at the edge of Taemin's workspace, recording everything. The instructor himself visited one afternoon, all four arms crossed as he examined the half-built catapult. This is your project? Velcris asked. Yes, instructor. It is primitive. Yes, instructor. Do you believe it will work? Taemin met the instructor's compound eyes. I know it will work. Humans used weapons like this for thousands of years. They worked then. They'll work now. Velcris made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. We shall see. Continue your work. The weeks passed. Around him, other students assembled sleek weapons with glowing power cells and targeting computers. Taemin carved wood, twisted rope, and tested his throwing arm again and again. Jiwon helped him calculate trajectories. Hyrim brought books on physics and ballistics. Finally, the day before the demonstration, Taemin's catapult was complete. It stood on a wheeled base, made of wood and rope and metal fittings. It looked simple compared to the other weapons. It looked old. It's beautiful, Jiwon said. Taemin smiled. Tomorrow, they would find out if his gamble had paid off. Tomorrow he would show everyone that sometimes the old ways were the best ways. The evaluation drone hovered nearby, watching and recording. Taemin looked up at it and wondered what the instructor really thought. He wondered if Velcris understood what humans were capable of. He would find out soon enough. The morning of the demonstration arrived with artificial sunlight flooding the testing range. The range was a massive chamber on the lower level of the station, designed to safely test weapons without risking hull breaches. Blast-resistant walls surrounded the firing area, and target drones hovered at various distances. Taemin wheeled his catapult into the staging area. The wooden frame looked strange among the sleek metal and composite weapons the other students had built. Some students pointed and whispered. A few laughed openly. Jiwon walked beside him carrying a bag of projectiles they had designed. Each one was a dense rubber ball with small aerodynamic fins attached. They had tested dozens of designs before settling on these. "Are you nervous?" she asked. "Terrified," Taemin admitted, but also excited. Hirim met them at the staging area. She had a tablet in her hands filled with calculations. "I ran the numbers again last night," she said. "Your weapon should work. The trajectory calculations are solid. The energy transfer is efficient. As long as the rope tension holds, you should be able to hit targets at 50 meters easily." "Should," Taemin repeated with a slight smile. "Nothing is certain," Hiram said, "but the math is on your side." Velkris stood at the front of the range, all four arms raised for attention. The evaluation drone floated beside the instructor, along with several other drones positioned around the range. These drones would record every demonstration from multiple angles. "Welcome to the weapons demonstration," Velkris announced. "Each student will present their weapon in turn. You will have 3 attempts to hit a moving target at 50 meters. Accuracy, reliability, and innovation will all factor into your grade. We will begin alphabetically by species." That meant Korval would go first. The Thexian student stepped forward with his plasma rifle. It was an impressive piece of engineering with glowing blue energy cells and a targeting computer built into the sight. Korval took position at the firing line. A target drone activated, hovering at exactly 50 meters. It began moving in a programmed pattern, side to side, up and down. The Thexian aimed carefully. His targeting computer beeped. He fired. A bolt of superheated plasma shot across the range and struck the target drone. The drone's shields flared but held. A second shot. A third shot. All 3 hit the target, though the third shot was slightly off-center. Then smoke began rising from Korval's rifle. The weapon had overheated. Cooling fans activated with a whine. 3 hits, Velkris announced. Accuracy is good. However, the weapon overheats quickly. This limits practical use. Grade B+. Korval looked disappointed but nodded. He returned to the staging area, glaring at his rifle as if it had personally betrayed him. Other students took their turns. A Volthari student demonstrated a magnetic accelerator that fired metal slugs at incredible speed. It was powerful and accurate, but it took 10 minutes to charge between shots. Grade B Soo-jin, another human student, presented a coil gun she had built. It was solid, reliable engineering. She hit the target twice out of 3 attempts. The third shot missed because the target drone changed direction unexpectedly. Grade B+. A student from the crystalline Shoth species built something that shot beams of focused light. It was beautiful but not very powerful. Grade C+. Finally, Velkris called Taemin's name. Taemin pushed his catapult to the firing line. The wooden wheels creaked slightly. Around the range he heard snickering. Someone muttered something about humans and their toys. He ignored them. Jiwon helped him position the catapult, making sure it was stable. Hirim checked her calculations one more time. The target drone activated. It hovered at 50 meters, beginning its movement pattern. Taemin loaded one of the rubber projectiles into the catapult's cup. He pulled back the throwing arm, feeling the tension increase in the twisted ropes. The ancient design stored energy efficiently, turning his pull into potential force. He studied the target. The drone moved left then right, following its programmed path. Taemin had watched all the previous demonstrations. He had memorized the movement pattern, but something else caught his attention. Velkris's personal evaluation drone, the one that followed the instructor everywhere, was hovering near the target area. It was recording the demonstration from a side angle, floating at about 48 meters from the firing line. The drone moved slowly, panning across the range to capture the full scene. It followed a predictable patrol pattern, probably programmed to get the best camera angles. Taemin made a decision. He adjusted his aim, tracking not the target drone but the evaluation drone. He calculated the arc, the trajectory, the timing. His mind worked through the physics that Hirim had helped him understand. "Parabolic motion, gravity, air resistance, what are you doing?" Jiwon whispered. "The target is over there." "Trust me," Taemin said quietly. He waited. The evaluation drone moved along its patrol path, sweeping past the target area. Taemin tracked it, making tiny adjustments to the catapult's angle. "Taemin," Hiram said urgently. "The target—" "I see it," Taemin said. His hand released the trigger mechanism. The throwing arm swung forward with a loud thwack that echoed through the range. The twisted ropes uncoiled, releasing their stored energy. The rubber projectile launched into the air, following a perfect parabolic arc. Time seemed to slow down. The projectile flew across the range, spinning slightly from the fins. It passed over the target drone, which continued its pre-programmed movements unaware and unhit. The evaluation drone hovered in its patrol pattern, still recording. Its cameras were focused on the target area, not on the incoming projectile. The rubber ball struck the evaluation drone dead center. The impact was not gentle. Taemin had calculated for a 50-meter shot, and he had put real force behind the throw. The drone spun wildly, its rotors struggling to compensate. Sparks flew from broken sensors. One of its camera arms bent at an unnatural angle. The drone fell from the air. It crashed onto the range floor with a crunch of metal and plastic. Pieces scattered across the ground. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The entire testing range was silent except for the low hum of the other hovering drones and the gentle whir of ventilation systems. Then Jiwon started laughing. It began as a giggle, then grew into full gasping laughter. She bent over, hands on her knees, unable to stop. Hiram's eyes were wide. Her mouth hung open in shock. Korval's jaw had actually dropped, his reptilian features showing pure disbelief. Sujin was grinning from ear to ear. The other students stared in various expressions of shock, confusion, and in a few cases, admiration. Velcris stood perfectly still. All 4 arms were frozen in whatever position they had been in. The instructor's compound eyes focused entirely on Taemin. Taemin calmly walked forward. He picked up a piece of the broken evaluation drone, examining it. Then he looked at Velcris and spoke clearly. "Target neutralized at 48 meters, he said. The assignment was to hit a moving target at 50 meters with a ranged weapon. I built a ranged weapon. I hit a moving target. The distance was close enough to requirement specifications. Did I pass?" The silence stretched on. Then Velcris's mandibles moved, creating a clicking sound. It took Taemin a moment to realize the instructor was laughing. "You," Velcris said slowly, "just destroyed Academy property." "The assignment did not specify which target to hit," Taemin said. "It only specified distance and that the target must be moving. Your evaluation drone met both criteria. That drone cost 12,000 credits. I'm happy to pay for repairs," Taemin said. "Or replacement. Whatever is necessary." Velcris walked forward on 4 legs, approaching the wreckage of the drone. The instructor picked up a piece, examining it with multiple eyes. Then Velcris looked at Taemin. "Do you understand what you have done?" the instructor asked. "I completed the assignment," Taemin said. "Unconventionally, perhaps, but I completed it." "You demonstrated something far more important than completing an assignment," Velcris said. The instructor's voice had changed. The buzzing quality was less pronounced, more serious. "You demonstrated that you do not think like other species think. You saw a different solution. You took a risk. You acted with confidence." Velcris turned to address the entire class. "This human built a weapon that requires no power source. It cannot be jammed by electronic warfare. It leaves no energy signature for enemies to track. It uses materials that can be found almost anywhere. And most importantly, he thought to target something that no one else even considered as a valid target. The instructor's evaluation drone might have been destroyed, but the other recording drones had captured everything. Velcris played back the footage on the range's display screens. Everyone watched the projectile's perfect arc, the precise timing, the clean hit. "This is what innovation looks like," Velcris said. "Not just building better versions of weapons that already exist. True innovation means seeing possibilities that others miss." The instructor turned back to Taemin. "Report to the dean's office in 1 hour. We need to discuss this incident. Bring your friends." "They clearly helped you." Taemin's stomach dropped. The dean's office. That could not be good. Jiwon had stopped laughing. "Are we in trouble?" she asked quietly. "Probably," Taemin said. But Velcris made that clicking laugh sound again. "Perhaps trouble. Perhaps opportunity. We shall see." The dean's office was located in the administrative section of the station, a place most students never visited unless they were in serious trouble. Taemin, Jiwon, and Hyerim walked through corridors lined with pictures of famous alumni and important moments in Academy history. Maybe we should have a plan, Jiwon said nervously. You know, a defense strategy. The best defense is the truth, Taemin said. I did exactly what the assignment required. I built a ranged weapon. I hit a moving target at the specified distance. You destroyed expensive equipment, Hyerim pointed out. That was unfortunate, Taemin admitted, but technically not forbidden by the assignment parameters. They reached the dean's office. The door was made of some kind of exotic wood that definitely did not come from Earth. A panel beside it showed the dean's name. Thalmar, Dean of Engineering and Applied Sciences. Taemin pressed the button to announce their arrival. Enter, said a voice like crystals chiming together. The door opened. Inside, the office was large and filled with light from the window overlooking space. The dean sat behind a desk made of the same exotic wood as the door. Thalmar was a crystalline, a species whose bodies were made of living crystal formations that could move and reshape themselves. The dean's form reflected light in rainbow patterns. Velcris was already there, standing to one side with all four arms crossed. Next to the instructor stood a human woman Taemin recognized. Professor Youngmi taught advanced theoretical engineering and was one of the few human faculty members at the academy. Students, Dean Thalmar said, the crystal body chiming with each word. Please sit. They sat in chairs arranged in front of the desk. Taemin tried to appear calm even though his heart was racing. I have reviewed the footage of today's weapons demonstration, the dean said. Instructor Velcris has filed a report. The evaluation drone you destroyed cost 12,000 credits and contained irreplaceable research data. I'm willing to pay for... Taemin began. The dean raised a crystal hand. Let me finish. The drone also had backup systems that transmitted its data in real time. Nothing was actually lost except the physical hardware. That is fortunate for you. Taemin felt slight relief, but he knew more was coming. However, the dean continued, the incident raises serious questions. Did you deliberately target instructor property? Was this an act of defiance? Poor judgment? Or something else? Before Taemin could answer, Professor Youngmi spoke. Dean Thalmar, if I may. The dean nodded, crystals shifting. I've reviewed the assignment specifications, Youngmi said. The students were instructed to build a ranged weapon capable of hitting a moving target at 50 meters. There was no specification about which target to hit. The evaluation drone was moving and it was at 48 meters. Technically, Taemin fulfilled the assignment requirements. Technically, Velcris said, yes, but the intent was clear. The target drone was the obvious choice. Since when do we grade students on choosing the obvious? Youngmi asked. I thought this academy valued innovation and creative thinking. Creative thinking and property destruction are not the same thing, the dean said. With respect, Taemin said. Speaking up, I knew exactly what I was doing. I calculated the trajectory. I accounted for the arc and timing. The hit was precise, not accidental. I demonstrated complete control of my weapon. Why? Velcris asked. Why target my evaluation drone instead of the designated target? Taemin thought carefully before answering. Because everyone else was going to hit the target drone. I wanted to show that my weapon could do something different. Something unexpected. In a real combat situation, the ability to surprise your enemy is just as important as accuracy. The dean's crystal body reflected light in thoughtful patterns. That is an interesting perspective. But this was not a combat situation. It was a graded class assignment. Then consider it a demonstration of capability, Taemin said. The target drone had shields and was designed to be shot at. Your evaluation drone was not. It was a harder target because it was not prepared for attack. Hitting it proved my weapon's effectiveness even better than hitting the designated target would have. Hyerim raised her hand slightly. Dean Thalmar, if I may add something? I helped with the trajectory calculations. The math required to hit a moving target that was not following a predictable defensive pattern was significantly more complex. What Taemin did was actually more difficult than hitting the target drone. And I helped him build it, Jiwon added. We spent weeks on this project. Every part was carefully designed and tested. This was not reckless. It was planned. Velcris made that clicking sound again. The instructor walked closer to the students, examining them with compound eyes. You three worked as a team. You planned this demonstration. You knew there would be consequences. Yet you proceeded anyway. Why? Taman met the instructor's gaze. Because humans have been building weapons for tens of thousands of years. We started with rocks and sticks. We built catapults and trebuchets and crossbows. Then we invented gunpowder, jets, missiles, and eventually energy weapons. But we never forgot the old methods. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. Every other student built advanced weapons, Velcris said. Energy systems, magnetic accelerators, plasma rifles. All of them used modern technology. And all of them have weaknesses, Taman said. They need power sources. They can overheat. They can be detected by sensors or jammed by electronic warfare. My catapult has none of those weaknesses. It's simple, reliable, and effective. Professor Youngmi smiled slightly. He has a point, Velcris. When was the last time you saw a student even consider mechanical weapons? Everything is energy-based now. We've become so focused on advanced technology that we've forgotten the basics. The dean was silent for a long moment. The crystal body shifted colors from blue to green to gold. Finally, Tholmar spoke. There is something you need to understand, the dean said. The evaluation drone incident has already spread throughout the station. Students are talking about it. Faculty members are debating it. Some think you should be expelled. Others think you should be commended. Taman's stomach tightened. Expelled. He had not considered that possibility seriously until now. However, the dean continued, after reviewing all the facts, I am inclined to agree with Professor Youngmi. You completed the assignment. You demonstrated innovation and technical skill. The fact that you chose an unconventional target actually proves your point about tactical thinking. Relief flooded through Taman. But, the dean said, and the relief vanished. There must be consequences for destroying Academy property, even if the destruction was technically impressive. You will work in the engineering maintenance department for 20 hours to pay for the drone replacement. You will also write a detailed technical report on your catapult's design and the calculations you used. That's fair, Taman said quickly. Thank you, Dean. Do not thank me yet, Tholmar said. There is more to discuss. Velcris stepped forward. I have been teaching at this academy for 40 standard years. I have instructed students from 67 different species. In all that time, no one has ever done what you did today. Is that good or bad? Ji-Wan asked quietly. Both, Velcris said. The evaluation drone was placed in that position deliberately. It was a test within the test. Every semester I position it near the target area. I have always wondered if any student would realize that the assignment did not specify which target to hit. In 40 years, no one ever did. Until today, Taman stared at the instructor. You wanted someone to shoot your drone? I wanted someone to think beyond the obvious parameters, Velcris said. I wanted someone to demonstrate true tactical innovation. The drone was expendable. What I discovered today was not. Professor Youngmi looked pleased. I told you humans would surprise you, Velcris. They certainly have, the instructor admitted. Which brings me to my next point. Taman, your catapult is primitive by our standards, but it is also elegant in its simplicity. That combination interests me. I would like to issue you a new challenge. What kind of challenge? Taman asked carefully. The Advanced Weapons Seminar, Velcris said. It is normally only open to senior students, but I am making an exception. I want you to join the seminar and apply your unconventional thinking to a more complex problem. What problem? Design a weapon system that could theoretically breach the Academy's defense grid, Velcris said. Our defenses are state-of-the-art. Energy shields, point defense lasers, electronic countermeasures, the works. Most students who try this challenge fail because they think in conventional terms. They try to overpower the defenses with stronger weapons. I want to see if you can think of a different approach. Taman felt excitement building. This was an opportunity, not a punishment. I accept, he said. You may work with a team, Velcris said. Choose carefully. This challenge is difficult. Ji-Wan and Hye-Rim, Taman said immediately. If they're willing. Absolutely, Ji-Wan said. Of course, Hye-Rim agreed. The dean stood, crystal body chiming. Then this matter is settled. Taman, you will complete your maintenance hours and write your report. You will also join the Advanced Weapons Seminar. I will be watching your progress with great interest. News traveled fast on a space station. By evening, everyone at Galactic Academy knew about the Catapult incident. Students who had never spoken to Taman before stopped him in hallways to ask questions. Some wanted to know how he had calculated the trajectory. Others wanted to understand why he had chosen such a primitive weapon. A few just wanted to congratulate him on his boldness. Not everyone was pleased. Some students, particularly those from more technologically advanced species, saw the incident as a human showing off. Others thought it was disrespectful to the instructor, but many more were impressed by the unconventional thinking. Taemin spent his first maintenance shift in the engineering department, helping technicians repair damaged equipment. The work was tedious but educational. He learned about the station's systems and met staff members who had been working there for decades. On his third shift, an older human technician named Myung-ho pulled him aside. "I heard what you did," the man said, "with the catapult." "Bad news travels fast," Taemin said. "Not bad news," Myung-ho said with a smile. "Good news. We need more students who think like you. Too many kids these days just memorize what they're taught. They don't question. They don't innovate. You questioned everything. I just wanted to try something different." "Different is how progress happens," Myung-ho said. "Remember that." The Advanced Weapons Seminar met in a special secure classroom. When Taemin, Ji-won, and Hae-rim arrived for their first session, they found 5 other students already there. Korval was among them, which surprised Taemin. The Thexian noticed his expression. "I requested to join this seminar after seeing your demonstration," Korval said. "You made me realize I was thinking too narrowly. If I want to be a good weapons designer, I need to learn from different perspectives, even human perspectives." It was as close to an apology as Taemin was likely to get from the proud Thexian. He nodded in acceptance. Velkris entered with another figure. Commander Daijung was a tall human man with short gray hair and a military bearing. He wore a coalition military uniform with several medals and insignia indicating high rank. "Students," Velkris said, "this is Commander Daijung. He serves as military liaison between Earth and the coalition. He has extensive experience in tactical analysis and weapons development. He will be observing our seminar and may offer insights." The commander nodded to the group. His eyes focused on Taemin for a moment, and there was a hint of approval in his expression. "Your challenge," Velkris began, "is to design a weapon system capable of breaching the Academy's defense grid. Let me show you what you're facing." The instructor activated a holographic display. It showed the station's outer hull, surrounded by layers of defensive systems. Energy shields flickered in multiple colors. Point defense turrets tracked simulated threats. Electronic warfare nodes pulsed with activity. "This is a military-grade defense system," Velkris explained. "It can stop missiles, energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, and even boarding pods. It has redundant power systems, automatic threat assessment, and self-repair capabilities. Most attacks fail because they try to overpower the defenses directly. That rarely works. What's the weakness?" asked a student from the Volthari species. "That is what you must discover," Velkris said. "You have 4 weeks. Work in teams or individually. Present your solution at the end of the period." After class, Taemin's team gathered in a study room. They spread out their notes and began analyzing the defense systems. "The shields are the obvious problem," Ji-won said. "They can absorb huge amounts of energy. Any conventional weapon would need massive power to break through. What about overwhelming them with multiple attacks?" Hae-rim suggested. "If we hit from many directions at once, maybe the shields can't cover everything." "The point defense system would engage," Taemin said, studying the specifications. "Those turrets can track and destroy multiple threats simultaneously." Korval joined their discussion, having been invited by Taemin despite their earlier rivalry. "What if we use electronic warfare? Jam their sensors, confuse their targeting?" "They have redundant systems," Ji-won pointed out, "and hardened electronics designed to resist jamming." They worked for hours without finding a clear solution. Every attack method they considered had a counter-defense built into the system. Finally, Taemin sat back in his chair. "We're thinking about this wrong," he said. "What do you mean?" Hae-rim asked. "We're trying to fight the defenses on their terms," Taemin said. "Energy weapons against energy shields. Electronics against electronics. We need to think differently. Like with the catapult." "You want to build another catapult?" Korval asked skeptically. "Not exactly," Taemin said. "But think about why the catapult worked. It was simple. It didn't rely on power systems or electronics. It did one thing and did it well. What if we apply that principle here? The defenses are designed to stop known threats," Ji-won said slowly, understanding dawning. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic weapons moving at certain speeds. They're programmed to recognize these patterns. So we need something that doesn't fit the pattern, Hiram said excitedly. Something the system isn't designed to recognize as a threat. Taemin pulled up the defense specifications again. Look at this. The shields are calibrated for high-energy impacts. The point defense turrets target objects moving faster than a certain velocity. The electronic warfare system looks for energy signatures and electronic emissions. What if we go slow? G1 suggested. Too slow to be recognized as a weapon? That's interesting, Corval said. But how do you get a weapon close enough to be effective if it's moving slowly? You disguise it, Taemin said. You make it look like something harmless. The shields won't stop low-energy objects. The turrets won't target slow-moving debris. The electronic warfare system won't detect something with no emissions. They began working on a new approach. Instead of building one powerful weapon, they would create a multi-stage system. Small drones, moving slowly enough to avoid automatic targeting. No energy weapons, just mechanical payloads. Launch them from unexpected angles. Over the next 2 weeks, they refined their design. Commander Daejung stopped by occasionally to observe their progress. He never offered direct advice, but he asked questions that made them think harder about their approach. In real combat, the commander said during one visit, defenses are only as good as the assumptions they're built on. If you can identify those assumptions and exploit them, you can defeat systems much more powerful than your own weapons. That's what humans have always done, Taemin said. We fought wars against enemies with better technology. We won by being unpredictable, by using tactics they didn't expect. Exactly, Daejung said with a slight smile. Never fight fair if you can fight smart. Professor Young Mi also visited their study sessions. She brought historical examples from Earth's military history. Trojan horses, guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, battles won through deception and innovation rather than superior firepower. This is the human advantage, she explained to the team, which now included students from 3 different species. We come from a world where we competed against each other for thousands of years. We learned to innovate constantly. Every time one side developed a strong defense, the other side found a way around it. That cycle of adaptation made us incredibly creative at problem solving. As they worked, Taemin noticed something interesting. The alien students in their group began contributing ideas that would have seemed unlikely before. Corval suggested using the catapult principle to launch their disguised drones from unexpected distances. Hiram calculated trajectories that would approach the station from blind spots in the sensor coverage. Working with humans had changed how they thought about problems. The night before their presentation, the team did a final review of their system. It was elegant in its simplicity. Small mechanical drones launched from multiple angles using spring-loaded mechanisms. No power signatures to detect, slow enough to avoid automatic targeting. Once close to the hull, they would attach and deploy their payload. Not explosives, but simple mechanical clamps that would physically damage the shield projectors. It's crazy, G1 said. We're attacking a high-tech defense system with what basically amounts to smart rocks. Smart rocks with clamps, Taemin corrected with a grin. Will it work? Corval asked. On paper, yes, Hiram said. The simulations show a 78% probability of successfully disabling at least one shield generator. Once the shields have a gap, more conventional attacks could exploit it. That's higher than I expected, Taemin admitted. The next day, they presented their design to the seminar. Velcris listened carefully, all 4 arms folded, compound eyes watching the holographic display as they explained their multi-stage approach. Other teams presented their ideas. One group suggested using massive energy weapons powered by multiple generators. Another proposed swarms of suicide drones moving at maximum speed to overwhelm the defenses through sheer numbers. A third team designed electromagnetic pulse weapons to disable the station's systems. All of them were variations on conventional military thinking. When Taemin's team finished their presentation, Velcris was silent for a long moment. Then the instructor stood and addressed the entire seminar. The catapult incident became legendary. Students who had not witnessed it asked those who had to describe every detail. The story grew with each retelling, though the basic facts remained accurate. A human student had built a primitive weapon and used it to shoot down the instructor's drone instead of hitting the assigned target. What started as gossip in the academy cafeteria soon spread to other parts of the station. Faculty members debated its implications. Station administrators discussed whether rules needed to be updated. Even off-station, through communication networks connecting various coalition worlds, people heard about what had happened at Galactic Academy Meridian. Taman found himself receiving messages from strangers. Some were other humans congratulating him on representing Earth well. Others were from alien species asking questions about human military history or engineering philosophy. A few were from military officers in various coalition fleets, expressing interest in unconventional weapons development. The attention was overwhelming. Taman had only wanted to pass his class in an interesting way. He had not expected to become a symbol of human innovation. 3 weeks after the advanced seminar ended, Velcris called Taman to the instructor's office. When he arrived, he found not just the instructor but also Professor Youngmi and Commander Dae-jung waiting for him. "Sit down, Taman," Velcris said, gesturing with 2 of 4 arms. "We need to discuss your future." Taman sat, feeling nervous. "My future? Your catapult demonstration and your work in the advanced seminar have attracted attention," Commander Dae-jung said. "The Coalition Defense Council is interested in establishing a new research division focused on unconventional weapons and tactics. They want to recruit talented individuals who think differently. Your name came up." "They want me to work on weapons?" Taman asked. "Not just weapons," Professor Youngmi said. "Strategy, innovation, teaching others to question assumptions. The Coalition has spent thousands of years developing military doctrine based on energy weapons, shields, and electronic warfare. That doctrine is effective, but it has limitations. You've proven that primitive methods can sometimes overcome advanced defenses." "I built a catapult," Taman said. "I'm not a military genius." "You are not," Velcris agreed bluntly. "But you have something more valuable. You have a mind that sees possibilities others miss. That is what the Coalition needs." Commander Dae-jung leaned forward. "Let me tell you something about Earth's military history. Humans have been fighting wars for 10,000 years. We've used rocks, spears, swords, bows, guns, tanks, jets, missiles, and nuclear weapons. Every few generations, we invented new ways to kill each other. That sounds terrible, and it was. But it also meant we learned to innovate constantly. We learned that the best weapon isn't always the most powerful one. Sometimes it's the most unexpected one." "Other species had wars too," Taman pointed out. "Yes," the commander agreed. "But most of them reached a technological plateau and stayed there. Once they developed energy weapons and space travel, their warfare became predictable. Humans never stopped changing. Even after we developed energy weapons, we still studied historical tactics. We still trained soldiers in knife fighting and hand-to-hand combat. We never forgot that sometimes you need a rock when your laser rifle runs out of power." Professor Youngmi added, "The Coalition has been at peace for 200 years. That's wonderful, but it also means military thinking has become stagnant. The defenses are strong, but they're predictable. If a real threat emerged, something the Coalition hasn't encountered before, we might not be ready. Your catapult showed us that we've forgotten how to be unpredictable." Taman thought about this. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "Nothing yet," Commander Dae-jung said. "You're still a student. But we want you to continue thinking the way you think. Continue questioning assumptions. Continue finding creative solutions. After you graduate, there will be opportunities for you in defense research if you're interested. And if I'm not interested in military work, then you do whatever you want," the commander said with a smile. "This is not an order. It's an opportunity. Take it or leave it," Velcris spoke up. "Regardless of what you choose to do after graduation, I want you to understand something important. You changed how I teach. For 40 years, I assigned the same weapons project. I always positioned my evaluation drone in the same place, hoping someone would realize it was also a valid target. No one ever did. I had given up hope that students would think beyond the obvious." The instructor's mandibles moved, and what Taman had learned was a smile. "You proved me wrong. You showed me that innovation isn't dead. It just needs the right circumstances to emerge. Because of you, I'm redesigning my curriculum. I'm going to push students harder to think unconventionally. That will benefit everyone, not just humans." "I just built a catapult," Taman said again, still struggling to accept the significance everyone was attaching to his actions. "You did more than that," Professor Youngmi said gently. "You reminded us why humanity is valuable to the Coalition. It's not because we have the best technology, we don't. It's not because we're the strongest fighters, we're not. It's because we think differently. We approach problems from angles other species don't consider. That diversity of thought makes the coalition stronger. Over the following weeks, Taemin's life gradually returned to normal. The attention faded as new events captured student interest. He continued his classes, completed his maintenance hours, and spent time with Jiwon and Hyarim working on various projects. His catapult was placed in the Academy's Engineering Museum. It stood in a display case with a plaque describing the demonstration and its significance. Students on tours would stop to look at it, often surprised that such a simple device had caused such a profound impact. One afternoon, Taemin found Korval examining the catapult display. The Thexian noticed him approach. "I underestimated you," Korval said directly. "I thought primitive meant inferior. I was wrong." "Primitive doesn't mean inferior," Taemin agreed. "It just means different. Sometimes different is exactly what you need." "I requested a transfer to human military history classes," Korval said. "I want to understand how your species thinks. If I'm going to be a good weapons designer, I need to learn from all available knowledge, not just what my own species knows." "That's a good idea," Taemin said. "Maybe I should take some Thexian engineering classes. Learn about plasma systems and energy dynamics from your perspective." They walked together to the cafeteria, discussing ideas for future projects. Their rivalry had transformed into mutual respect. This was another lesson the catapult had taught. Different perspectives working together could achieve more than either could alone. In the cafeteria, Jiwon and Hyarim had saved seats for them. Sujin and several other students joined their table. The group had become friends, united by shared experiences and common interests. "I heard you got recruited by Coalition Defense," Jiwon said to Taemin. "Are you going to become a military engineer?" "Maybe," Taemin said. "I haven't decided yet, but it's good to have options." "Whatever you do, keep building weird things," Hyarim said with a smile. "The galaxy needs more weird ideas." They talked and laughed, enjoying their meal. Through the cafeteria windows, stars shone against the darkness of space. Somewhere out there were millions of worlds, billions of beings, all part of the coalition, each species contributing their strengths, their knowledge, their unique perspectives. Humans had been part of the coalition for only 5 years. They were still learning their place, still figuring out what they could offer. The catapult had been a small thing, a simple demonstration in a weapons class, but it had shown something important. Later that evening, Taemin returned to his workshop. He had a new project in mind. He had told Jiwon he was thinking about building a trebuchet, and he had not been joking. A trebuchet was more complex than a catapult, using counterweights instead of torsion for power. It could throw heavier projectiles over longer distances. He began sketching designs, calculating weight ratios and pivot points. The math was challenging but satisfying. There was something pure about mechanical engineering. No power cells to charge, no electronics to program. Just physics, leverage, and careful construction. Professor Youngmi found him there hours later, still working on his calculations. "You should be resting," she said. "You've had an intense few weeks." "I like this work," Taemin said. "It helps me think." "What are you building now?" "A trebuchet. It's similar to a catapult but uses different principles. I want to see if I can improve on the design. Make it more accurate, more powerful." Youngmi looked at his sketches. "You know, there's something I wanted to tell you. When humans first joined the coalition, there was debate about whether we belonged. Some species thought we were too primitive, too warlike, too unpredictable. They worried we would cause problems, did we?" Taemin asked. "Yes," Youngmi said with a laugh, "but good problems. We questioned things other species accepted without thought. We suggested solutions that seemed crazy until they worked. We brought energy and creativity to an organization that had become comfortable with the status quo." She pointed to his trebuchet design. "This is a perfect example. No other species would spend time studying ancient weapons.